Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone, and happy Wednesday. This is our May monthly meeting for the Culver City Democratic Club. I am Jeanna Harris, the first vice president. Our president, Jeff, couldn't be with us today, but we had a exciting program, as we know that, we're in a very interesting election year in 2024. I know a lot of attention is always on the federal races. That's what we call the sexy races, right? Like that's where everyone's attention goes. However, people don't understand that how powerful your local government is. Actually, your local government affects more of your everyday life than the president ever can. And that is what that was the whole point of governance, governing structures, right? Like we have our local, our state, and our federal. I don't think they're really teaching too much of civics in school much anymore. But I just wanted to explain that because I know I'm very worried about how the elections will play out. We had a very low voter turnout, and that killed us on local races, races where your vote really matters, where one vote can make a huge difference on having someone that is really good, who is there to fight for your community versus someone who is not. So I really am excited to have this discussion and to get to know some of our neighboring city council candidates. We're talking LA City Council today, not Culver City Council. That will come later. But the reason why we're talking LA City Council is because if you notice, Culver City's in the middle of a bigger city. And so you're surrounded by LA on all sides except the ocean. And actually, you're still a little bit on the LA side. So I think it's important that we have good relationships with our LA City Council and their, shared interest. For example, the Inglewood oil field. It's something that's mutual. So we have a lot of mutual things. So that's the reason why today we're hearing from the LA City Council candidates. And incumbents about where they stand and how our values may align, so that we can know, do we want to help support these candidates, because we also have friends that live in LA and they're going to look to us because they know that we're involved, for them, us basically to tell them who to vote for. So with that being said, I'm going to get started with our first candidates. And we have representatives or candidates from, Council Districts 2, which is actually, in up north, north of us. And we have 10, which is to the east of us. And we have 14, which is even further to the east of us, like on the downtown or east of downtown LA area. Don't quote me on that mapping, but I'm speaking broadly on that. So I wanted to get started. I know our Council District 2 is someone has to leave a little early. So I want to go ahead and give them the opportunity to start. So I'm going to spotlight our first candidate right now, which is it's Adrin or Adrin Nazarian. Sorry.
Adrin,
Adrin Nazarian. So I'm going
you
to
got it.
spotlight you so that you've got the floor. And
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you'll get 5 minutes to discuss, and then after the candidates have spoken, we'll give a couple minutes, if someone has questions or anything.
Okay. 5 minutes for the intro?
We are ever so gracious, right? Yes.
You are very generous. Yeah,
I
I don't know
know.
if I actually want to take up that much time.
You don't have
Uh,
to. Like I said, you're definitely able, if you don't use the full 5 minutes, if people want to have a question or two before we move on to the next candidate, that's okay.
okay. Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much for your interest. I was kind of surprised when I received your email, but I'm very grateful that you are willing to spend the time and energy and your personal resources to consider making an endorsement in City Council District 2. I come to you having already received the endorsements of LA County Federation of Labor, Democratic Party of Los Angeles County, San Fernando Democratic Party of San Fernando Valley, East Valley Indivisibles, as well as Valley Grassroots for Democracy, among many other local Democratic clubs. Most importantly, Mayor Karen Bass, your Assemblywoman or nearby Assemblywoman Tina McKinner, among many other elected officials who have joined on and have supported me and my effort because they know I have the experience, the focus, and the integrity to make a difference and to make an impact. The issue of homelessness and housing, uh, homelessness has been an issue we've been grappling with for the past better part of 60 to 70 years, and we have not honestly addressed the issue. And we're going to need to address it once and for all, because right now there's a real fear among many of our young voters, many of our renters, who feel they can become homeless any minute themselves. So it's a critically vital issue that we address it. Two, making sure that people can afford living in the homes that they're living in, making sure we're coming up with programs to support individuals, making sure that we work with our federal and state partners to make sure that no one becomes homeless at this point. Public safety is critically vital. I think it's important for us to make sure that we demand our police department to focus on the important essentials so that more families continue wanting to raise their kids in Los Angeles and more small businesses want to invest and open up in Los Angeles. And then fourth point, of course, we need to make sure that we're supporting our small businesses. We need to make sure that people are investing their talent and their capable art and craft in our area, being successful and giving us the benefit of tax revenue. I'm again, I'll keep it short. I'm happy to answer your questions and engage specifically in the things that you're interested to hear from me. But I'll leave you with this one thought. I served in the state assembly for 10 years where I authored and worked on children's savings account. For 7 years, I made sure I work among many other bills. I worked on making sure that every child born in California has a college 529 plan put in their name through state funds. And the state now puts in $100 for every child born, roughly about 500,000 annually in California to their name so that they ensure that those children are having the opportunity to pursue college if they choose to do so. Thank you very much, Adrin, Nazarian. Honored to be here and look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? Because we were pretty gracious on time. So if there's anyone that has a question, feel free. Leah has your hand raised, and then we'll go to Cynthia after.
Yeah, I understand that you work very closely with Paul Krikorian, and I'm wondering how you would be different or the same as a city council member.
Appreciate the question, Leah. First of all, Paul and I was his chief of staff for 6 years. Extremely proud of the time that I worked for him and with him. Paul is a extremely compassionate and intelligent individual, and I think he's brought a great deal of stability to a ruckus city council that was experiencing a horrific turn of events just a short 2 years ago, as you all recall, after the leaked tapes. Paul and I are very different in our styles. He's extremely cerebral. He loves to listen and spend a lot of time understanding issues and processing them and addressing them. That, I think, for the most part, is going to be the same. I don't like to shoot first and ask questions later. I'd like to actually understand the issue, look at the data and understand what we're dealing with, and also account for the equity issues related, because many people are frustrated with the lack of opportunity and equity. Where we're different is that I tend to be much more activist oriented. I like to spend a lot more time in the district. I like to drive around, understand the bulky item pickups, the potholes, the sidewalks that need to be fixed, things that need constant attention and focus in order to get done. from the small things all the way to the big things. I'm sitting right here in Whitsett Park where my son plays soccer. This is a field that I got state funding so that we can make sure we convert a lot of the fields that were just dust into decent fields so that more kids can utilize them rather than have asthma because of kicking up the dust. So it's things like, or respiratory issues. So it's things like this that I've always focused on and worked on, even as a staffer, to make sure that we're improving the lives of individuals, especially those that are the voiceless amongst us in our communities.
Sorry, and in terms of policy, are there big differences between you and Mr. Krikorian?
On the policy front, I gotta say, when I was his chief of staff, we were working on oil-related issues, and when I was in the state assembly, I introduced anti-fracking bills. So on the policy front, I think we both tend to be very progressive and try to address a lot of the environmental issues. And I've continued some of the work that he started, especially on making sure that we work towards 100% clean energy infrastructure.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia, you want to ask your question and we'll move on to the next candidate?
If you wanted to say a little more about the housing and homelessness, I appreciate that you're mindful of people who are not homeless yet and live in fear. Do you have some ideas of things that the city could be doing better in that regard?
Cynthia, I was that person just some years back. My family immigrated here from Iran, and I didn't speak the language. My mother didn't speak the language. She worked 3 jobs to make sure that we got by. I didn't see my dad for 4 years because he was stuck in Iran, where we had left after the war. So it was a very, I've always looked at issues from a place where it could be me. And when you look at things from that lens, you are always taking somebody else's pain and on trying to understand where that person is coming from, and try to work under that, from that prism of understanding that pain and challenge. That way you can better understand what the needs are and how to surgically try to address the issues so that you can improve the lives. Because it's not just about passing a certain policy. It's also about the follow through, about looking at the numbers, looking at the data and seeing if things are actually working to improve people's circumstances. What the city can do, look, the city doesn't have a lot of money to be able to help people in making payments. But what the city can do is place parameters on how landlords work with their tenants. So those are some critical factors and large scale opportunities. One of the things that I'm going to want to work on is looking at how major equity firms have invested in hundreds of single family homes and are utilizing them for their own benefit. We should have never allowed that to happen. If they are going to continue doing that, they should be paying a per housing unit tax, which would go into our housing trust to build more affordable housing. We should be looking at ways of not allowing major corporations or major equity firms make out like bandits on the backs of working class, middle class individuals. And we've been allowing that to happen for a very long time.
Thank you so much. That was a great answer. Yeah, thank you, Cynthia, for that question. And Adrin, thank you for joining us in between commitments. I hope everyone, will, like I said, take your words into consideration. But we will go ahead and move on to our next city council candidate, Miss Jillian Burgos. I'm going to give you a spotlight here. You'll have 5 minutes. And then we'll have, maybe a couple questions. We'll take a few minutes for a couple of questions after. And the minute that my little like right clicky thing will hit the spotlight, we'll start. Go. Okay, there we go.
All right, wonderful. Hi, everyone. My name is Jillian Burgos. I am an essential worker, an essential healthcare worker. I am also a small business owner of a theater company. I am a lifelong renter, and I'm also a neighborhood council member. And I'm the only woman in the race running for Los Angeles City Council District 2. So for me, family and community are everything. I'm an only child who grew up in poverty and raised by my hardworking single mother. So I was the first in my family to graduate from college. And even with 2 degrees under my belt, I still found it really hard to make ends meet. And I realized that even though I look good on paper, that, I was facing housing insecurity for much of my life. And I was inspired by Senator Bernie Sanders because, like him, I believe that socioeconomic inequality is the greatest problem of our time. And at that time, I was ready to run, which was 2015. But at that time, my mother started showing signs of Alzheimer's. So it took me about 4 years of my life to become my mother's power of attorney. And as you all know, the Medicare to Medicaid system, our healthcare system, is not on our side. And I finally got her safe after 4 years. But in that time, I started to lose family members to easily preventable failures of our government, like housing, like mental health care, like healthcare in general, like bringing our soldiers back from war and not giving them support. And so that really inspired me to run. And I ran for the NoHo Neighborhood Council in 2021. I was elected. I became treasurer and chair of housing and services, and also became the treasurer and chair of outreach. And I saw that I was making a lot of progress just on an incremental level on an advisory committee. I was able to pass grants that have fed our unhoused neighbors, grants that have given mental health care to at-risk youth. And I felt that, that was just, my work was just beginning, and that I could take it to a bigger level, especially after the LA Fed tapes, in which our district was actually gerrymandered for my opponent. And it was gerrymandered to disenfranchise 137,000 people before they had ever even received their ballots. And, it's time for corporate politicians to come to an end, from people who are jumping from seat to seat. It's time for people who are actually wanting to be a public servant, who have a deep love and a commitment to their community. And, that is why, I'm not taking any dark money or any special interest money. And I have been endorsed by my opponent, Manny Gonez, and other officials that believe in accountability, like City Controller Kenneth Mejia, and the surrounding city officials, like former mayor of Burbank, Constantine Anthony, current vice mayor, Nikki Perez, and your former mayor, Dr. Daniel Lee, and your current mayor, Yasmin Imani McCoran. I'm also endorsed by the California Nurses Association, LA Progressive, LAUSD board member, Kelly Gonez, Sunrise LA, and every progressive recommendation. And that's because I am the true progressive choice. And I'm building a coalition to create a bridge from the Valley to City Hall. So my major focus will be housing as a human right by advocating for social housing, renter protections, and getting our unhoused neighbors into actual housing with wraparound services, comprehensive services that will follow them. I'm also focused on expanding public transportation, our green spaces, and implementing unarmed crisis response. I am the candidate who shows up when is needed. I was at Sataquay Elementary when it was attacked by fascists. I was also on the strike lines with WGA, SAG-AFTRA, and Kaiser. We had the top 3 employers in our district all on strike at the same time. And I was there not for a photo op. I was there to drop off snacks and pick up a picket sign and join them. And I think that that's what service is all about, is being there when it counts, and being there to listen to the community. I think our community has been ignored for a very long time. Again, I'm trying to build a bridge from the Valley to City Hall. Our current council office has not done that. And I think that we need to be done with the status quo. It's time for that to come to an end. So I wanted to thank you so much for having me here today. And I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Thank you. So yeah, we have time for a couple of questions. Anyone have questions for Jillian? Sorry. Managing the waiting room too. Dr. Lee, sorry, I don't think I've ever said that, but I had to. It just felt good. Go ahead.
Hey everyone. Jillian, I know you, so obviously this question is for the benefit of other people, but in the context of your current opponent, in terms of policy, what would you say differentiates you the most?
I feel that, my opponent says that they have a lot of experience, and if so, we wouldn't be in the housing crisis that we are at this time. So I feel that it's time for new blood. It's time for people who aren't beholden to special interests. I haven't taken any realtor money. My opponent has taken over $100,000 in realtor money. And so that's definitely what differentiates me. I'm a renter. We only have one other renter on city council. So I think it's really important to have that voice that's advocating, that voice that understands what it is to live paycheck to paycheck and not know if you're going to, have the appropriate help from your city council office. I will be that city council office, and I understand what they're going through. So right now, we need to work at protecting renters, making sure that they stay housed and giving them actual responses instead of letting their emails just that they're being unresponded to. The other thing about housing is that if it's going to be more of the same, our current council member dictates how long unhoused people will be on the streets before they actually receive services, and that's 6 months. And so I feel that my opponent will be more of the same. I will be a new, fresh approach. I will prioritize people over corporations. And so that is why I'm definitely running, because I'm tired of, and as many of the constituents of the city are, we're tired of the status quo. It hasn't worked. It isn't working, and we need to change it.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, for that question. Sorry. I have to keep doing that. Anyway, anyone else have questions for Jillian, or we will move on to our CD10. So we have time for everyone. I don't see any other hands raised. So Jillian, I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, hoping that our members get to hear like our, shared interests with our LA City, councils. So thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. And what will happen we'll send out our ballot via Election Buddy. So we'll notify of like our results after the Election Buddy. Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Awesome. Trucking right along. So we're going to go on to City Council District 10, which is just to the east of us. And we heard from our District 10 members, our candidates. In the primary election, they came to visit and talk with us. So we are here now with the candidates in the runoff. So right now we have our the current city council member, Councilmember Heather Hutt. So I will start again, spotlight. And Councilmember Hutt, you have 5 minutes.
Excellent. Good evening, Democrats. I'm Heather Hutt, the current councilwoman in the 10th district. A proud member of this community. I was born in Los Angeles in the 10th district. I'm a single mom. I have raised my 3 boys as a single mother here in the 10th district. And I'm really honored to be able to have this appointment. I was appointed just about 20 months ago, first as a caretaker, then as a temporary council member, and then a permanent council member. And I'm running for this seat because there's so much work to do. We started off in a rough space, but I'm not afraid to fight. I'm not afraid to fight for what we need for our community. I'm not afraid to fight for what we need for our vulnerable population, which is our homeless and our senior citizens. And what I've been able to do in this little short period of time is really house our unhoused neighbors. My data shows that I've been able to house 1,500 people with wraparound services, locking arms with Mayor Bass. And I am the only candidate that is endorsed by Mayor Bass, endorsed by Holly Mitchell, endorsed by your mayor, Yasmin Imani McMorrin, endorsed by Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, endorsed by Assemblymember Isaac Bryan, endorsed by Assemblymember Tina McKenna, and many, many more. Also, State Senator Steve Bradford. I'm really proud of those endorsements. And I'm saying those things so that you know that I'm working with others to make change in Los Angeles and to make change in the 10th district. I have some priorities, of course, housing our unhoused, but also building more affordable housing. And since I've been here, we've been able to open 2,600 affordable units. We have been in a desert in our city where we don't have enough housing, and being able to be creative about how we utilize our spaces is something that I'm really proud of. But on top of that housing, we have to think about our vulnerable population, which are our senior citizens. That's why I'm working right now to build 800 new senior units, because people are aging out, they're downsizing, and they need to be in a place that's safe and is going to give them comfortability in having senior housing is a priority of mine. Besides senior housing, our small businesses are really important. And I'm investing in our small businesses so they will not only thrive now, but be ready for the Olympics. You know, as you think of the Olympics coming, the 10 freeway goes right through the 10th district. And I need people to stop off and invest, spend their money in our businesses in the 10th. And I'm having constant conversations with them about being ready so that they could take advantage of the thousands and thousands of people that are coming here. I want you to know that I am the chair of transportation. And so in being the chair of transportation, we have some priorities there. Electrifying our buses. That's really important. It'll be important for the Olympics. It's important for the environment. And it's something that I feel like we must do if we're going to go to not having a pollution, a gas, asthma problem in our community, especially in our Black and Brown community. In transportation, we recently passed unarmed response. And that's really a critical piece of ordinance where we're going to change how people are responded to through our LAPD system. It was a long study that was about 2 years, and we've come to the conclusion that it must be done. And I'm proud to lead that charge. And then also I want to talk to you about what we're doing to make our streets easier to use. So we got a grant for $20 million so that we're able to do bus and bike lanes, and they'll be extended down Venice Boulevard from Arlington all the way down Venice. That's going to make a big difference on how people are able to traverse through the 10th district and also our city. I am excited about what we've been able to do with the Ballona Creek bike lane, really offering an opportunity to move people even further to Cochran from Ballona. That's a big investment. And so I'm excited about the work that we've done so far and want to do more.
Thank you so much. Anyone have any questions for Council Member Hutt? Cynthia.
Oh, good evening, Council Member. I'm sorry to say that the Los Angeles City Council's developed rather an unfortunate reputation for being an ethical sewer. What in your next term, if you're reelected, what would you like to do about that?
Thank you for that question, Cynthia.
Maybe you think that the reputation is undeserved.
No, thank you for that. We have an ad hoc committee right now that I'm on, where we're going to be able to make some big changes, certainly to the charter, for how our city ethics are seen. I'm looking forward to ethics reform and happy to be on that committee so that we'll have some performance-based reforms that we are be able to look at and say, listen, this is making a difference. I'm very disappointed in what we have seen in the past. It hurts my heart. I'm from here, born here. My mother was born here in 1927. So just imagine. So when you see these negative things happening or people taking advantage of power, we have to stabilize. And we can do that through our charter reform. And I'm happy to be on that ad hoc committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, Gian. Thanks for coming and visiting.
Hi, I'm a member. Thank you for being here. Sorry for the background noise. I wanted to know how you're going to ensure that you serve all of the diverse communities in your district, because I heard a few communities mentioned, but I didn't really hear mentions of some of the other significant communities in your district. And in that vein, do you support smaller city council districts?
Thank you for that question. So can you define what you mean you didn't hear? Can you define what you mean you didn't hear about other communities? What do you mean?
Well, specifically, I'm Korean American, and my parents live in the district, and so I didn't hear anything about the Korean American, how the Korean American community will be served by
sorry, I didn't
your
say anything
leadership.
about. Yeah, I didn't talk about identity at all. I'm sorry about that. But the 10th district is the tapestry of Los Angeles, in my opinion. We not only have Koreatown, we have little Bangladesh, we have little Ethiopia, we have a rich Oaxacan corridor, we have Central Americans. I'm here to represent everyone. I did not talk about one identity over another. I love this community because of the tapestry that we have, and it's woven so beautifully together. So I'm here to represent our Korean community. I'm here to represent Bangladeshi community. I'm here to represent the Black community, the Oaxacan community, the Central American community, the Mexican community, the white community. And I have a Jewish community that is also Orthodox community. I am here and have an open door policy for all of the communities. And I think that is what is exciting about the 10th district, because we have so much diversity, and I appreciate the diversity and want to serve them with a healthy, safe position. And as for your question on the change of districts, I have an answer. My number is 25. I feel like if we move to 25 districts, we will give an opportunity for more people to have seats, so we can have LGBTQ representation, so that we can have more API representation. And so, yes, 25 is my number.
Thank you so much. And just for record, I love the nail polish. It's a reminder it's time for me to get my nails done. I love the pink. So thank you so much. Anyone, actually, we're running a little short on time, so I'm going to move on. But Councilmember Hutt, thank you again for coming to visit with us and, share your values and where you stand with things and your issues. So greatly appreciate you again. Thank you so much. And now we are going to move forward to the next candidate. We have Grace Yoo with us. Sorry, I'm going to find you and then I will spotlight you. You'll have 5 minutes and again, a few minutes for questions. So I'm going to spotlight you right now. Grace, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. My name is Grace Yoo. I'm a candidate for LA City Council District 10, and I'm hoping that you remember me because I've been here a couple of times. I bet you want to know why I keep running, how I'm going to win. I want to tell you why I'm running, though, because I think that really will explain to you why I do this. I'm here because I believe Los Angeles deserves more, and I can bring more. More services, more accountability. I asked for that in the ethics. I had huge plans that we've already submitted. I'm asking for more honesty. Remember that honesty from our elected officials? There was a time when people expected the elected officials to be honest. We don't really expect it anymore, unfortunately. It's like, shouldn't we have a better standard for our elected officials? In this last primary, 73% of the voters did not vote. And it's because they think government is not working. It might be that my opponent doesn't care, but honestly, I want voters in my district to care, to know that their vote matters, that it isn't just someone appointing a person into the seat. We need to have a fair democratic process. And so I'm going to just focus on what we as Angelenos in the 10th district deserve. You know, we deserve affordable housing, not just this talk about we've built affordable housing. When affordable housing is considered to be $1,800 a unit for studios, that is not what most people consider to be affordable housing. I want some more real honest truth. You know, the city talks a great game. They say we care about the environment. When we cut down a tree, we replace it with two. When we are building affordable housing, we've got so many thousands of units. But when you come right down to the truth of the matter, people can't afford to live, even in the affordable housing units that are being built. And, you know, we say we want to solve the homelessness problem, but when you just keep raising the rents and don't allow for people to stabilize themselves financially, and yes, the city talks about giving, you know, $1,000 to the poorest of us, but that's not enough of a solution. What you're going to get from me is someone who's not only going to just speak and talk, but do my very best to deliver. Look, I'm running right now for a third time for this seat because I love my city. My family and I immigrated from South Korea in 1974. It's been 50 years for us. LA has been a wonderful home for 50 years. My mother is a retired 30 years dues paying member of a city employee, right? She's been at AFSCME, SEIU, and EAA. My father is a warehouse worker, retired. My brother is a retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. How did this all get to be? It's because my parents instilled in me certain values that we appreciated about America, which is justice, democracy, and opportunity. You know, it's my parents saying, hey, work hard, study hard, be honest, and take care of others. You know, being a good person means taking care of others. And that's what I find to be the most important thing and what really motivates me to continue running and fighting against the establishment and the lies. I've been raised with enough confidence to protect the honesty when it's challenged. When I see injustice, I get upset. And that's how I ended up running. I'm running because we need to really allow for the people to have a fair shot, some really good government services. That would be a blessing to everybody. If people didn't feel like they were disregarded, as if their vote doesn't matter, if we believe in democracy, we need to allow for better. And I know that when I have your endorsement, we can do better for the people.
Thank you so much, Grace. Appreciate that. Anyone have questions for Grace? Sure, go ahead, Danny, then Leah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I share, and I think most of us probably share your concerns about the cost of housing and housing and affordability, et cetera. But I'm just curious, what is your analysis of the causes of that phenomenon, and what specifically are you proposing to do about it, to change it?
You know, I think there are probably quite a number of reasons, but I know one of the ways I would try to bring about a lowering of costs is to have already pre-built, prefabricated units going up, which is a huge cost savings. I was really impressed with flyaway homes when they were using container homes and they were able to build it at like 150 per unit, $150,000 per unit instead of the 550. And you've heard now that the city is planning to spend 1.24 million, $1.25 million for one unit of housing that is less than 400 square feet or approximately 400 square feet. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like going, oh no, we need to spend our money more wisely. And we need to make sure that what we say we're doing, we shouldn't be like the state of California where they cannot account for 24 billion with the B, $24 billion that they don't know how it was used to help the homeless. That's the kind of stuff that makes this poor immigrant woman feel very, very sad. I grew up without housing for quite a bit. We are not some of you might think, oh, Grace must come from a wealthy family or they owned a store. No, my parents worked 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 kind of jobs. And my mother worked graveyard shift when I was a kid because we didn't have a babysitter. We did what needed to be done so that we could survive as a family. McDonald's was a treat once a week.
Thank you. Leah?
Yes. Hi. Thanks for coming and participating. I had a question about a measure that you worked to pass that actually didn't pass. It's called Measure S, and it was against housing density. And right now you're talking about building a lot of housing, but that one was to limit housing density.
Oh, Leah, thank you for bringing that up. Measure S was not to prevent housing. If Measure S passed, it would have required the city to actually update how many units of housing we have available. It was portrayed as if it were a stop all housing units from going up. Actually, it would have only stopped and prevented mega development. 97% of all housing would have continued as needed. And I still stand behind the idea that we as a city should know how many units we have available. I'm also part of an organization that looked at development. And the problem with it is it's great that we're putting up new and more units from TOC, but with the TOCs, you were supposed to allow for low-income units or extremely low-income units. The problem is there is no mechanism within the city to hold the people accountable. So on paper, it's available. But when you're a renter looking, you have no idea where it's available. And Measure S would have required the city to have a database that everyone can utilize.
Thank you so much.
I'm also not someone who's a NIMBY where others think that, because in fact, the house that my parents own that I live in, right next door, we built a 64 unit, formerly homeless individuals and seniors and people with disabilities. So my neighbors and I, we actually fought for the building to go up. I am not a naysayer.
Thank you so much. So we actually, I see we have one more hand up, but we actually have to move on for the sake of time. But if we have time to circle back and you're still on, Jiyoung, I will definitely come back to you. Moving forward, we're going to jump to our next city council district, going east of City Council District 10, past a little bit to the downtown area. So we're going to go to if we have like Ysabel Jurado on, or someone representing Ysabel. Oh, hi. All right, I'll give you a spotlight. Will it be just you speaking or anyone else?
Just me.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
Hi. Hi, I'm Naomi. I'm Ysabel Jurado's campaign manager. She wishes she could be here today, but she has mom duty. She's a single mom. So her daughter is a rising soccer star. So she has to take care of that. But I am really excited to be here speaking on her behalf today. As a proud member of CD14, I've lived in CD14 for 10 years, and I couldn't be more excited to be on Team Ysabel. So a little bit about Ysabel. Like I said, she's a single mom, daughter of undocumented Filipino immigrants, public transit rider. And if elected, she'd actually be the first Filipino to ever serve on LA City Council, and the only currently openly queer person on City Council, and the first woman to represent District 14. So it's a very historic run. And we're so thrilled to be endorsed by an incredible coalition of progressive movers and shakers, including Council Member Onisus Hernandez, LAUSD Board President Jackie Goldberg, LAUSD Board Member Dr. Rocio Rivas, former Mayor of Culver City Daniel Lee on this call, City Controller Kenneth Mejia, Stonewall Democrats, the LA League of Conservation Voters, Working Families Party, Sunrise LA, the list goes on. So she was born and raised in Highland Park in District 14, still lives in the same house she grew up in with her dad and her teenage daughter. And she watched as her neighbors and her loved ones were pushed out of the neighborhood because of skyrocketing rents, facilitated by developer greed, that were, working hand in hand with our council members. And this is kind of what fueled her commitment to combating the forces of displacement and stopping the eviction and homelessness pipeline, and what spurred her to become a housing rights attorney. So as a housing rights attorney, she stood shoulder to shoulder with our most vulnerable neighbors and with small legacy businesses during the height of the pandemic and protected them from eviction. She has marched on picket lines. She has defended workers against wage theft, like the same wage theft that her undocumented father faced. And she fought for better working conditions as a member of AFSCME. And, I can lay out her resume as much as I want, but I think at the end of the day, what's important here is if we think about what the biggest crisis that we're facing in District 14 and in all of Los Angeles, it's it's housing and homelessness, right? And there's no one better equipped to deal with this crisis head on than someone that has dedicated their career to navigating these systems and that understands the holes that exist within these systems and how to fill them. Somebody that has dedicated her career to fighting for social housing, helping to establish housing cooperatives and community land trusts across LA. And, these are the kind of bold, innovative, creative solutions that we need to tackle the housing affordability crisis. We've been putting billions of dollars into solving our homelessness crisis. We're not making a dent. We need a new vision. And that's where Ysabel comes in. And yes, she's running for District 14. And I know that we are talking to Culver City Democratic Club. And you don't live in District 14, but I do think that this is a fight that goes beyond district lines. This campaign it's a movement. It's a movement, and we're building a coalition of working people and community members, and we are working to challenge the status quo and break this stranglehold of career politicians who prioritize personal gain over the needs of their constituents. And this is about LA-wide healing. I know we all remembered the leaked Fed tapes, and that's just these scandals that have taken place in District 14. From Weezer to DeLeon. These are reminders of there's an urgent need for change and for healing in our political system and in Los Angeles. And it's time to just move past these scandals and start delivering for the people. So at the end of the day, she's got the lived experience, she's got the professional experience, she knows housing policy like the back of her hand. She's bold, she's unbought, she's unbossed, and I'm proud to be on her team. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for coming and representing Ysabel. Does anyone have any questions for Naomi? No, not, oh. Dr. Lee.
So my question is really a little bit more of a plant, though me and Naomi did not coordinate this. I know that there's a lot of residual anger around Kevin DeLeon refusing to step down. And of course, there have been stories in Knock LA and other places about him using his council office to send out mailers so that his campaign doesn't have to use it. I just wanted to underline that point and ask where people could sign up to volunteer or donate to Ysabel, because it's very clear that Kevin DeLeon needs to go. I don't need to make that point, but really want to encourage people to donate and volunteer as much as they can.
Thank you. And yeah, I hear you, and we are so excited to expand our coalition. Everybody is welcome at this table. So sign up to volunteer, and I'll put this in the chat at bit.ly/CD14 volunteer. That's where you can sign up to volunteer. You can sign up, you can donate at bit.ly/Jurado 2024. We have our all volunteer call coming up next Wednesday. So please sign up at the bit.ly CD14 volunteer to join us. Yeah, and I'll drop that in the chat now.
Thank you so much. Point of privilege, since I haven't seen any hands raised. This was a big race. If you weren't paying attention, we had some heavy hitters in CD14. We had Miguel Santiago, we had Wendy Carrillo, of course, KDL, Ysabel. Ysabel was this was the underdog story of the LA City Council races. And you know, I'm a sucker for it and I'm here for it. So proud of her organizing team for the progressive, like, you know, showing what organizing really can be powerful. This was also the point of how get out the vote is very important, people. So this race is one of those races where your vote will matter. It will come down to the nitty gritty. Those last few votes, those people who are saying, I don't know if I'm gonna turn in my ballot. I don't know if I'm gonna go vote today. Do it, because that will determine this race, those people. So if you want to know if your vote counts, ask Ysabel. She'll probably tell you it does. All righty. So thank you so much for coming, though, and tell her that, you know, if she ever wants to come back, or if, you know, she feel free to reach out to us if she feels like she wants to come and talk with our club again. We will definitely, you know, welcome it. All right, so moving on from our LA City Council races and all of our neighbors that surround our city. Again, thank you, all the city council members and candidates who joined us. We appreciate you visiting and giving us your time. So I wanted to move on to other important races. Judges. You guys, judges matter. So I know we're going to probably run a little bit into our business meeting, but I really feel like it's important for you to hear from our judge candidates. Judges are mostly skipped over on the ballot. That's a huge mistake. Do not skip over the judges on the ballot and then scream to me about criminal injustice. Do not do that. Make an informed vote. So I know it's hard to get information on judges, and that's why we asked some of our judicial seat candidates to come. So with that being said, we're going to have a few minutes here to hear from our judicial candidates from LA City or LA County, excuse me, Superior Court seats 135 and 137. We're going to start with seat 135, where I have the first candidate that Georgia Huerta. Is she on? Wait, I thought I saw her name, but maybe
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. I was like, I know I saw that name. All right, so we have a few minutes for you to talk with us. So I'm going to spotlight you and go ahead.
As you know, my name is Georgia Huerta. I'm running for seat 135. I want you to know that I'm a lifelong Democrat, been one since I was 18 years old. I've been endorsed by the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, the National Women's Political Caucus, and numerous other Democratic clubs and organizations. I have been rated well qualified by the Los Angeles County Bar Association. I want you to know that it was my childhood experiences that caused me to want to become an attorney. and eventually a deputy district attorney. And it's still those childhood experiences that's driving me to be a judge. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and I witnessed firsthand the struggles within my community, because my community at that time was predominantly Black and we were poor. And I saw individuals within my community not being treated fairly because of that. But I also saw the other side of it, where neighbors were committing crimes against neighbors. And I just felt that I could do something about it. As a deputy district attorney, I have always strived to be fair. I put my community first. I understand by being a deputy district attorney for so many years and being in court each and every day, I know what's required of a judge. A judge has to be fair. A judge has to be open-minded. A judge has to be prepared. And a judge has to be willing to work hard, because it is a hard job and requires you to work. But I also learned that people sometimes deserve second chances. I do not believe in mass incarceration. I'm just sorry. I don't believe in it. I don't think it makes our society safe. I don't think it deters crime. I think it's worse. I believe that treatment and rehabilitation has to be a part of the judicial system if we want to make our communities safer. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And that is exactly what I'm going to do in the situations if it presents itself. I was assigned to our alternative sentencing court, and the focus was on rehabilitation and treatment. And so I understand how it works. I was in that unit for 3 years. I also would like you to know that I believe in my community. The community helped my mother. My mother raised 6 children by herself with no help. And the community came to her aid to help us many times. We were homeless and they helped us. We didn't have clothes sometimes and they helped us. So I have always worked with in mind how to better serve my community. I still serve my community. I'm a part of Project LEAD. I am over our scholarship committee, providing funds for students in the South Central Los Angeles who wants to further their education. I'm a COVID-19 vaccination coordinator. I'm also over several ministries within my church. I just want you to know, as a judge, I will continue to serve my community, because that's what a judge's job is, to serve the community, to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have questions? I don't see hands. I will ask my question.
Okay.
So, okay, then I'll come to Leah. So, right now, a lot of media attention is on crime, right? We have the big retail thefts. We have a lot of crime going on. We have, a DA who fights back recalls and everything. But right now, because of the crime and the media narrative driving it, they are basically saying LA's too lenient on crime. And, there are, of course, the police association backed folk who are now driving we need more police. We need to be tougher on crime. Look what's happening. So how do you think, what is your current assessment of the crime here in LA? And what do you think is a possible solution to, keep our communities safe in this very mishmash, growing, equity, or equitable society, there's our inequitable society. What do you think that we could do, or what do you think you could do, in the judicial system to help with this, kind of chasm that keeps growing right now?
Well, my position is this. If we think that putting people in jail is really going to solve some of the problems that we're facing, it won't. It has not in the past. It has not worked in the past, and it will not work in the future. We currently have laws that can deal with some of these crimes if those laws are actually followed and enforced. I will tell you that as a deputy district attorney right now, my assignment is a filing deputy. And what that means is that law enforcement brings cases to the DA's office, and my division is the division that decides whether or not that case can be filed and put into the criminal justice system. But as a filing district attorney, I can't allow what's being displayed in the media or what people personally think drive my decision about determining what cases to be filed. I have to follow the law. We live in a lawful society, not a lawless society. And as an individual responsible for putting cases into the criminal justice system, I'm not going to put cases in the criminal justice system based on emotion, based on the media. That is wrong. I will not do that. If a case cannot be proven beyond a reasonable doubt at the time it's submitted to me, I'm not going to file it. It's not fair to the person who's being accused or to the community to do that. So I believe that in my position, what I do is that I try to follow the law. I try to do what is necessary to keep our community safe. And I think sometimes we have to be careful when we allow the media to drive what the law should be, because sometimes that's not the right thing. And I won't try to use any examples to explain that, but that's not the right thing. Each case has to be decided on its own merits as it relates to the law.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I totally agree with that one. And so on to Leah. Oh, I realize we're kind of over time, but it's okay. It's important.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm really concerned about the consequences of Proposition 1 passing, and it passed by just a hair. It really involves the courts a lot more in mental health. I mean, obviously, the jails have some of the most mentally ill folks, way more than any other institutions, and maybe in the country. But we're moving towards involuntary commitment and locked facilities. And I'm very concerned about the quality of care and about the potential for really great, enormous inequity in the way that different patients of different economic classes and, just how much power you don't have, what kind of treatment you're going to get, and how much dignity and respect will be involved. Sorry, that's convoluted. I know as a judicial candidate, you can't necessarily comment a lot, but to the extent you can.
Well, you're right. I really can't comment on that. But what I can tell you, I think, Leah, is that when I worked in the alternative sentencing court, there were 6 types of individuals that ended up in our court. And people suffering from mental illness or mental illness situations was one of those individuals. What I learned in that court and what I realized that a judge has the power to do is actually hold everybody accountable for helping that person that may be suffering from a mental illness. And what I mean by that, it's very easy to say, oh, you can go get treatment. But a lot of people don't know where to go. They don't know who to turn to. They don't know what organizations or services are out there available for them. But the judge has the power to order the defense and the prosecutor to bring forth information about these different services, and also to make these services available to treat individuals. And if that particular organization does not adequately provide for that person by giving them the necessary medication free, because people sometimes don't have money or housing or what, the judge can call them into court and hold them accountable. And the judge that I was in her court, she held them accountable. And I tell you that really makes a difference when the judge holds people accountable for doing what they're supposed to do for the people who are in our system, as opposed to just giving lip service. We can't give lip service. We have to be accountable, and we have to hold other people accountable.
Thank you so much. Rick, unfortunately, we're over our time, but I can come to you first if you have a question for our next judicial candidate. I wanted to thank you, Ms. Georgia Huerta, for joining us, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. But I want to move forward now to our next judicial candidate, if they're on, Stephen Mack, or someone speaking on behalf of Stephen. Is anyone on for Stephen? Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to move forward to LA County Superior Court, seat 137. Do we have Tracey Blount on?
Yes, I'm right
Right
here.
here, yes. I don't know why this is not showing alphabetical for me. So I'm going to spotlight you. We'll have like 3 minutes, and then can take a question. Unfortunately, because we are running over, but we'll take a question. And then we'll move on to our next.
I thought I got 5 minutes.
Huh?
I thought I got 5 minutes. Now it's only 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, we went over.
I'm
but...
just playing. I'm just playing.
Okay, I was like, I'm sorry. I try, and trust me, I'm a Libra. I'm big on equality and stuff. So I always feel bad when this happens, because I was like,
it's okay.
But I'm even getting nudged on the messages. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm
just playing.
All of our judicial candidates are going to get 3 minutes. Georgia also.
No, I'm just playing. So hi, everyone. I'm Tracey Blount, and thank you for having me. I'm running for seat 137. And a little bit about me. Grew up in the Altadena, Pasadena area. I went to UC Berkeley, went to Syracuse University College of Law for a little bit until it started snowing. And then this California girl had to get out of there and come back to California. I chose to go to the University of Laverne College of Law, 1, because it was close to my house, and 2, because it has a evening program. And I wanted to go to school at night and work full time, which I did. I ended up as a paralegal at County Counsel's office in their dependency division and another division, but the bulk of my time was at dependency. And there was a freeze, so I had to go work at the DA's office for a year, but I came back to County Counsel's office because that's where I wanted to work, in dependency. Dependency law is child abuse and neglect. I was trial counsel at Children's Court for 12 years, handling child abuse and neglect cases every day for 12 years. And when you're in court with a judge and the same group of attorneys pretty much every day, all day, you get to know who they are and what they do. And I say that because the judges handle the case. They are the trier of fact. There's no jury in children's court because it's closed to the public, because it's about kids and it's confidential. So working with judges every day, you understand the weight of the decisions that they have to make on behalf of these kids. In children's court, we do not order incarceration. It's about reunifying the child with their family. So the judge orders services like counseling, like whatever form of counseling is required. If it's about drugs, it's drug counseling and drug treatment. It's individual counseling. It can be couples counseling if there's domestic violence, because we deal with all the human issues, drugs, education, crime. It all comes into play in children's court. And if any of that places a child at risk, then we have to step in and deal with it and make sure the family comes out healthier and whole. In addition to working for all those years in court, I work at the warrant desk now for County Counsel's office. But I have served on a number of committees for my office, including now the mandated reporter to community supporter task force, which is a big, oh God, I'm almost out of time, which is there's a big push to make sure that people aren't brought into the system because they're poor. I'm on the IDEA committee, which is the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Committee. And I'm on the ICANN, the Interagency Council for Child Abuse and Neglect. I'm sorry, I went over. Oh, I still have a little time. That ICANN is a committee that is working right now to make sure that children born in county hospitals, if they don't have a crib, that they do have one when they go home. So for safe sleeping, that's just one of their initiatives. They deal with suicide, they deal with CSEC, sexually exploited children. So all of these committees that I'm on have benefited me as an attorney, will benefit me as a judge, because as an attorney working for LA County for all these years, it gives me more exposure to what happens in the county, which I hope I will have your support. Really quick, I know my time's up. Just wanted to say I have been endorsed and vetted by the LA County Bar Association as well qualified. The LA Times has endorsed me, LA County Democratic Party, and numerous other organizations and Democratic clubs. Thank you so much.
Okay, I will have time for one question. Rick, did you have a question? I saw you raise your hand briefly. No, okay. Okay, so then we will move on to our last candidate that we have for seat 137. We have Luz Herrera.
Hi, good evening.
Okay,
Thank
sorry,
you
there we
for
are.
the opportunity. Hi,
No, go
how are
ahead.
you?
I'm going to spotlight you. Yes, and then there you go.
And I apologize for my background, but I'm picking up my mother at the airport, and I have my 2 children in the back sleeping, so hopefully nobody snores too loud. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Whittier as an only child. I'm a daughter to immigrant parents from Mexico. I still call Whittier my home because I do own a home there, but most of my family is still in that area. I attended Stanford University and Harvard Law School, and I had the luxury of that education because my parents put a lot of emphasis on education being the way out of working class background. You know, we lived paycheck to paycheck, and so they wanted something better for my life. And I don't know that I do more than paycheck to paycheck. It's just that the paycheck and the expenses are a little bit higher now, I guess. I started off in big law and did some work with a number of private sector attorneys. My work has been primarily in the civil courts and civil, both transactional and litigation, everything from working with corporate law to small businesses, information issues to divorces in family law, estate planning, landlord tenant. So it's a variety of civil practice. And I think that's what differentiates me from most other candidates in all of the judicial races, is that I have a breadth of experience in the civil sector. And not only have I practiced, but I'm also a professor of law. I currently am at Texas A&M, and I'm making my way home back to California. I grew up in a working class community, and so I've gotten the endorsements of SEIU and the LA County Federation of Labor and other organizations, but I also have a long list of judges and law professors who are supporting my candidacy. So I'm excited to be part of this race. I've learned a lot, and as an educator, I've also been able to really help educate other voters about why it's important to vote in judicial races and how much it matters to the everyday decisions that our individuals in our county deal with. In addition to my teaching background and my practice background, I also have administrative background, and I think that's an important skill set to have in the courts, where we have so many self-represented litigants, and you're dealing with so many personalities in terms of the types of lawyers and the level of experience of lawyers, and I bring all of that. I currently manage about 15 attorneys and 3 staff members that practice a wide range of different matters. And so being in court in Los Angeles County requires somebody that can really pick up whatever assignment they're given. And so I think I'm the candidate. I hope that you will endorse me and that you will consider getting others involved in judicial races, because about a third of all those who actually cast a vote never get down to our races, especially since our race is the very last one. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing to engage with you and look forward to your questions if you have any.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining with us from the airport. Appreciate that. Were there any questions? If not, then I will, we can let you go so that you can pick up your family. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Again, emphasis on the judicial races with crime, with, criminal justice being so much on the forefront of conversations in the media. It's important to really make a conscious decision on who we vote for judge, right? Because how can we say it is an unjust system? Oh my God, it's such a corrupt system. Oh my God, this, oh my God, that. But we didn't even try to vote for the right people. So this is why it's important. This is why I've allowed us to go over our allotted time for this presentation, because I wanted to make sure that you got to hear about judicial candidates, because like, Luz had brought up, they are the last races that are often skipped over. And these are the same judges that will be the one that will make judgment on my family members if they were to become, arrested. I have, I think of my nephews, my brothers, my cousins who are Black men who are, definitely victims of an unjust criminal justice system. So I think it's very important that we make very, very conscious decisions on our judicial races. So with that being said, I want to thank all the candidates who came to join us and speak to us today, especially from our LA City Councils. And I wanted to move forward because we also have another race to talk about. It's a sexy race. And I'm going to give a few minutes here because we don't actually have the candidate with us. That is the Senate race. So, from our previous endorsement cycle that we had endorsed Barbara Lee for U.S. Senate. She unfortunately did not make it into the runoff, but we do have a Democrat who did, which is Adam Schiff, who is running against a Republican. We shall not speak his name. He shall be the name who is not spoken, but he is running against a Republican. And so in that race, you would think we would automatically endorse, but we are a Democratic club and we practice democracy. So with the Senate race on the election buddy ballot, you will have an opportunity to endorse Adam Schiff. You will have opportunity also to support no endorsement, or you can abstain from the vote. So it's not going to be an automatic endorsement of Adam Schiff. Like I said, no endorsement could get, we could not reach a 60% threshold. But I will give a couple of minutes because we need to get into our business meeting. If there are a few people who, or, maybe two people who want to speak on behalf of, the Senate candidate Adam Schiff, I can allocate a couple of minutes just, to, so club members can have an opportunity to speak. Pete, you have your hand up, and then Rick, and then after that, we will move forward to our business meeting, okay? And we'll give maybe a minute or so, okay?
Gina, are we recording this portion?
Yeah, I'm recording it, and after this, we'll stop the recording.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
just want to say that I think people should vote for Adam Schiff. I hope everybody does. And remember that we need a 60% vote to endorse a candidate. That's in our bylaws. So this person that Adam Schiff's running against, this Republican guy, was a baseball player, and it's been trying to say as little as possible during this whole primary. Anyway, vote for Adam Schiff. That's what I got to say.
Thank you, Pete. You're always a straight shooter to the point. But Rick, good to hear from you. I'm going to spotlight you so everyone can hear you and see you. There we go. Hi, Rick and Rebecca.
Hi. Hi. Well, I agree with Pete Rockwell. And let's get it done. The other thing I'll say is there is no one in the entire country that Mr. Trump would like to at least like to see in the United States Senate than Adam Schiff. And that alone suggests a yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yeah, just to reemphasize everyone, all, eligible members will be getting a ballot via election buddy, and you will have an opportunity to vote to support the candidates, or not support the candidates. You can do no endorsement, you can abstain. We need 60% to give an endorsement. So the election buddy should be going out here in a minute. Cynthia, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, just very quickly, obviously I'm going to vote for the Democrat because um because but whether or not he should have our endorsement, I'd love to hear from him or somebody from his